All right, bet. So where can you find me? I'm on Twitter. I appreciate if you guys gave me a follow. For doing this, if you found this valuable. I'm just trying to grow my page. I'm kind of new to the space. So I can drop a link in the chat later on. If you guys can give me a follow later on, you can go ahead and message me any questions you have relating to credit, and I'll be more than happy to help you. If you don't have anything today, but you have something that comes up in the future, um, feel free to message me over there. So I'm going to go over today introduction to me, understanding, personal credit and how to leverage it and the difference between personal and business credit. Because this is a big thing that most people don't understand. They think it's kind of like the same thing and they don't really know what business credit really is. And I'm going to go over the difference between those. And then I'm going to go through like the 5 pillars on how to get yourselves the highest limits on business credit because I know a lot of you guys are resellers in the FBA space. So you know that, if you find a good deal, all you need is the money in order to make more money. So if you're capped on the limits that you have, it's going to cap the amount of money that you can make. So I'm going to make sure I go over that, some extra bonuses, as well as a Q&A. Wow, damn, got a lot of people joining. We got like 23 right now. All right, so how I got into credit. So I just want you guys to know I'm not some guy who just like watched a few YouTube videos and then now is some credit guru. I've been in this researching it for the past like 2 years now. I got into it when I was in college. I wouldn't have much money, but I really wanted to get into the online money space. Um, and I just didn't know how to do it on my own. So what I did was I started learning about 0% interest cards and I was like, fuck it. Let me put 10, 20 grand on these 0% interest cards, use it for travel, use it as a network, use it for sales mentorships, because that's what I got into initially, sales. And because of the opportunities I had gotten and I put in that money, I was able to make 6, 7K a month while a college student. And I'd have to go through my shitty job as an accountant, which I would be doing now and not be on this call right now if it wasn't for the fact that I took that risk and, use my credit in order to, you know, learn skills, open opportunities, and make more money. So, and then I started teaching other friends about this just, for fun. I wanted to help them out. And then I got specifically in like the Amazon and e-com space. So I gotta meet this guy. But in the Amazon and e-com space, because I see the value of credit in this space, especially with a lot of young guys, they have an amazing business, but the only thing that's stopping them from making more money is access to this credit. And I saw an opportunity, and I've gone all in on this. I've spent 30K on the best mentors in the space. I have a business partner who's been in the space for many years. And I've learned everything I can, and I'm gonna try and boil it down into a 30-minute presentation all the most important things about credit. So these are some results that I've gotten, high limit cards for my clients, um, you know, anywhere between, 30 to, 100K cards are, what we like to get. All right. So why should you care about credit? So with credit, as you guys all know, you get points, you get cash back if you're spending it properly. You can get 0% interest credit. We're going to go into that for those who aren't familiar with it. But basically, banks are giving out credit cards where for the first 12 months, you get 0% interest on it. So it's a massive opportunity, but they don't just give those out to anyone. You really got to build your profile up correctly in order to get approved for these high limits. You get capital to scale your businesses. You can do a chargeback if you get scammed for something. You can, file a dispute with your credit card company. You can get your money back. You can get free first class travel, which in my survey that I put out, I think like 85% of the people want to know about that. So I'm going to go over that later on in the call. And as you guys get older, or you already have a home or, a car, we can help you refinance your car to get the lowest possible interest rate. And even a small 1 to 2% decrease in your interest is the difference between, a few $1,000s a year that you can just be saving just by using the right bank. So we're going to go over all that today as well as a Q&A. So last thing before I get into it, you want to make sure that you're using credit responsibly. It's a double-edged sword. So it could either be your biggest tool or it could be something that completely fucks you over and just, fucks you over for the rest of your life. So you want to make sure that whatever you're doing with credit, you're doing it incredibly responsibly and, using it efficiently. So get into it. So this is what I like to tell people, when they think about credit, right? You want to think like a bank and you want to get the banks. You want to understand why a bank is willing to give money. A bank does not want to give money to a person that looks like they need it. So if you, all of a sudden you haven't been using any banks, you haven't been using any credit products, and all of a sudden you go and ask for money, it's going to seem risky. So you want to do all these steps before you actually need the money. Because if you go into the bank right away asking for the money, they're not going to give it to you or they're going to give you crazy interest rate. So that's why it's important, even if you don't need the money, it's great that you guys are all on this call because you understand the importance of credit, to start literally right after this call and start building up your profile. So, most important thing is understanding your personal credit score. So, there's 5 factors that go into your score. The lowest score is a 300, and the highest score is an 850. So ideally, you want to be above a 700. Above a 700 should get you approved, for most standard cards, and get you decent interest rates and that kind of thing. So the most important factor is going to be your payment history. So your payment history is 35%, your credit utilization is 30%, your length of history is 15%, your credit mix is 10%, and your new credit is 10%. I'm going to go over each of those individually, but just so you understand what it takes to get an 850 score, you need no late payments on your entire report, an under 10% credit utilization, 8 to 10 years of average age, a mix of installment revolving accounts, and no increase in the past 12 months. But we'll go over all that in the next few slides. So payment history. This one's the easiest one to max out completely, and this should be the goal for everyone to do. So if you have 100% payment history, you get 200 points basically added onto your score, and all you got to do is just make the payments every single month. And the problem is that it's the easiest to get perfect, but it's also the hardest if you mess it up to like fix again. So if you have any late payments on your report, you have to get those off if you want to actually get any money from the banks or get approved for anything, because banks see it as incredibly risky if you have a late payment, especially on business credit. They're not going to give you anything, especially for, I'm sure a lot of you guys here are younger on there. So if you have any late payments, there's 2 options that you could do. You could do a do-it-yourself credit repair, which is sending letters in to the bureaus, or you can, pay a guy like my team to get it removed for you. Either way, whatever you want to do, but it has to be removed if you actually want to get, approved for anything that's significant. So this is the part of credit that most people don't understand. So you got to make sure you pay attention to this and really understand what your credit utilization is. Because if you have no payment history, no late payments, and you keep your credit utilization low and you really understand how to keep it low, you'll guaranteed basically you'll have an above a 700 just by doing those 2 things correctly. So make sure you understand this section. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to lower this part of your score before you go and apply for new credit. So I'm going to get into credit utilization, which is you take all your personal credit cards and then you add up all the credit limits on it. And then you divide the balance or the amount spent that month by your total limit. So for example, you have two 10K cards. That means your total credit limit is $20,000. And let's say on each of those 2 cards, you spent $3,000. So that's $6,000 total, that you had on the balance. And then you had a total credit limit of 20,000. So you do 6 divided by 20, like an example, and that equals 30% utilization, which is decent. If you're going to apply for any new credit, you want to keep it at least under 30%, nothing over, or else you're not going to get approved for shit. Or ideally, you're going to want to keep it under 10%. So what you can do is you want to make sure that if you have really low limits and you're maxing out your cards every month, you want to make sure you pay off your credit cards before the statement due date. So the credit cards um, have a statement and then it's the day that they're due. The statement's usually 2 weeks off, 2 weeks before that you pay them. So what you can do is to increase these limits, there's a few different strategies that you can do because low credit limits are really going to mess up your score, especially if you're spending a lot of money on it. So you could either not really use them and just use your debit cards to lower your utilization, or what you can do is you can use your credit card and then pay it off immediately after to ensure that you don't have a high credit utilization. So how you can fix this, like I mentioned before, um, is paying your cards off before the statement's due right away, or more importantly, building up your credit profile to get higher limit personal cards so that when you go and spend a few grand on your card on your personal side, it's not going to mess up your score. But the best thing is that even if you've maxed out your credit card for the past 5 years, if you paid off before the statement's due or only use 10% of your utilization the next month, then the month after, it's going to be completely shot up. So you can fix this really easily, but you have to be aware of this. So yeah, like I said, combining low utilization, no late payments, you should be at a 700 by this point. So credit age, this one, there's not really much you can do to get around this. You do need to have age on your reports, which is why it's so important that when you first get into credit, when you're young, you like you apply for everything once in the beginning and then you don't have to apply for personal cards ever again in the future, so that you do it right once from the start and then you don't have to worry about adding new stuff in the future and messing up your credit, because the more new cards that you get on the personal side, then the lower this section of the score is going to be. It's not the biggest deal if you have to go and add new cards, but it's definitely not ideal. But that's going to go into advantage of business credit because you can add new cards in business credit without messing up your personal score. But we're going to get into that later. But what you can do is if you're really young and you have a really limited credit history, if you've got a parent, a family member who's got great credit, say like, a card that's 10 years old with Chase that has a 25K limit on it. What you can do is you can be an authorized user on their account, which basically means that you're kind of like a part of like you have like responsibility of the card even though you don't have any like access to it at all. It's basically, a way of the bank knowing that someone that they trust is putting their credit profile on their report and you can't fuck it up at all. There's nothing that you can do to it. It's just basically a way to add another card onto your report that's going to boost up your age. It's still going to say that it's authorized user on your account, but if any young guys, have underdeveloped profiles and want to ask me about authorized users, I can go more so into the nitty gritty of that later. You can go and, DM me about that and I could show you the process of how to do that. So credit mix, this one's fairly simple. Um, Most people are able to max this section out, especially if you have a car, an auto loan, or some credit cards. All you really need is two credit cards, which are revolving accounts, and then like at least one installment account, which is like a car loan. But don't be autistic about this. You don't need an expensive car loan to boost your credit. Save your money. That don't be autistic. But yeah, so next up is new credit. So new credit is 10% of your score, but this is probably one of the most important areas, and most people don't understand this at all. And new credit basically means any hard inquiries that are on your account. So a hard inquiry is whenever you go to a lender or a bank and you ask for new credit, the bank will go run your report and then they're going to report an inquiry onto your account. So you can have a perfect, 750, 850 credit score. But if you have so many hard inquiries, especially attached to the same bureau where you're going to be applying for a card for, it's going to automatically decline you because it's going to see you as a high risk behavior. Because, like I said earlier, if you're applying for a ton of credit accounts within a short period of time, under 6 months, and then you go and apply it again, the bank's going to see that and be like, this guy applied for, 10 other credit cards in the past, 6 months. Why should I give him money? It's seen as a risky behavior. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to plan out your applications over the course of like every 6 months, ideally about 6 to 12 months, because inquiries last in your report for 12 months, but after 6 months, they lose most of like the impact that it has. So we can kind of go pretty deep into it in terms of like what bureaus and what banks um, go to what. But basically, the main idea that you want to have is that you want to, when you apply for cards, you want to be very strategic with when you do it, because every time you apply for a card, the banks know and it collects on your report. So if you get denied for a card and then you think, oh, maybe I'm going to go to this bank, and then you go and apply for a card again, you're going to get another inquiry. You're not going to solve the problem of getting approved for a card if you keep on getting denied by going to a bunch of other banks, because they all know about it. But we can get a little bit deeper into inquiries later on, because there's a lot of stuff that you can do with like removing them and that kind of thing. But we'll get back to that later. So this is kind of what I talked about. Different banks report to different bureaus. It's kind of advanced stuff here. But someone has questions that we can go over this later. All right. So the main thing, this is the difference between business and personal credit. So personal credit, obviously, whatever you think about when it comes to normal credit, the 5 factors that I just mentioned before. But the main thing about business credit that you have to understand is that it's not really based on if your business is making money. It's not based on any of those financials. It's not really based on your age. I mean, obviously, all those factors, if you have them, are going to help. But the most important factor when it comes to how much money you're going to get on your business credit is your personal profile. So you want to have a well-developed personal profile if you actually want to get approved for business credit. So what does a well-developed credit profile mean? It means that you have relationships with good banks. So you have cards with, we're going to go over all my favorite banks and that kind of thing, but you have cards with good banks and you have high limits on these cards, because their banks are going to base your credit limits on your personal side for how much they're going to give you on the business. So on the business side, you could usually expect to get 2 to 3 times as much as on the personal. So you want to make sure that you have, at least, 10K of a credit limit on the personal before you even think about applying to business, because then it's going to screw everything up. Because the thing is with credit, if you do it wrong, it's going to take so much time to rebuild it, where if you do it right from the start, it's going to make your life a million times easier. So other benefits of business credit is going to be how it's not tied to personal. So with personal, like we said, utilization is bad. If you have over 30% utilization, your credit score is fucked. But on the business side, you can rack up your utilization. You can max out your cards. Your personal score is still going to be untouched. So this is the main advantage of business credit, is that say you have $100,000 in 0% interest business credit. You can max out that $100,000 and your personal credit is still going to be a 750 or a 780. It's still going to be pretty good. And then you can go and apply for other personal cards, other business cards, because your personal is still good, because that's what they base most of your they base your business credit based on what you have on the personal side. Since even though you max out your cards, your personal score is still good. So you can still use that to go and apply for other business cards as well. But keep in mind, if you max out a card at one bank, they're gonna see that. You can't go and apply for another card at that bank. But you can do it strategically where you'll be always able to get access to new lines of business credit. And then, like I said before, inquiries. Inquiries are a big no-no with the banks, especially if you have a lot of inquiries. Whereas on business credit, what's cool about business credit, it's not tied to any personal accounts on your credit report. And what that means is that you can remove those inquiries. So you can remove any inquiry that is not tied to a personal account through, credit repair strategy, either by calling on the phone or sending them letters. I can go over that, on another another call. That's a whole different topic. But basically, anytime you get an inquiry, you can just wipe it off on the business side. So then you can keep on applying for new lines of credit. And then, you can max out those cards. But since the utilization's on the business, not the personal, your credit score is still going to be great. And you can keep on applying for new cards. So it opens up so much possibilities when you really understand the difference between business and personal and, how to really leverage it properly. All right, so I'm going to go over right now the five most important things that you have to know, five most important pillars to getting the highest possible limits on business credit, whether it be, rewards cards, like the Amex Gold or Platinum or Chase Business Premier, or 0% interest cards where there's, tons of those out there. So step one, having your low risk LLC, which I'm going to go over, personal bank accounts, good personal credit profile, business bank accounts, and applying for business credit through relationship managers. So, LLC, you want to make sure that your LLC is low risk and seems something that's actually credible and legitimate. And the way that we can, add legitimacy to your LLC is by doing these steps and making sure that it's low risk. So, for example, one of my clients that I had, he comes to me and he has some like crypto education platform that he wants to run. He comes in and his LLC name is Crypto Education LLC or something like that. And I was like, dude, that is retarded. Like a bank's gonna see that and they're not gonna want to give you any money, regardless of how good your business is. Because they see crypto, which is a high risk industry. They're not gonna want to give money to that. And a lot of like the online e-commerce and Amazon, there are some industries that are somewhat risky, but you don't want to really I don't usually recommend putting the name of what industry you're in your name. I like to keep it vague so that it's not tied to anything and it allows you to sell it easily too if you want to sell your LLC because age LLCs have value. But basically, my LLC name, Berlingeri Group LLC. It's my last name, short and simple. Um, and then you could have like your street name, Greenville Industries LLC. But I'll have a whole document that I can share to you guys on how to set up your LLC properly. After this call that I can send you, you can go through all these steps and make the changes if needed. But basically, a business domain, a business email, business phone number, a business virtual address. And then whenever you guys go, since I know a lot of you guys are in the Amazon space, this is my favorite code that's the lowest risk. Copy this down when you go and apply for credit cards and bank accounts. This one right here, 454-100. I did some research. I've talked to some relationship managers at the banks. They like this one. It's, related to what you're doing. So definitely go ahead and steal that. Articles of organization is, filing through the state, your LLC, EIN number, you get that for free from the federal government. DMB number, not the most essential, but I'll go over documents. You can go over all that where you really understand everything here. But all right. So before you go and apply for any personal cards, always, always, always apply for personal bank accounts. This is gonna allow you to increase the chance of you getting approved. And if you get approved, you're gonna get so much more money by doing this. It's so simple, but you have to look at it from the perspective of bank. A bank sees that you're using their product and that you may be like a lifelong customer. So they want to reward those that are actually, going to be there for the long term. Because if you're a long-term lifetime customer with the bank, you're going to make them thousands of dollars between, keeping money in the bank accounts, between, credit card processing fees, interest payments on credit cards and home and auto loans. So they want to give money to people that are actually serious about, using their products and being a customer. So by having a bank account, you're demonstrating to a bank that you're actually a serious customer. So I always recommend that before you go and apply for a credit card, so say you go and apply for a Chase Sapphire preferred personal credit card, open a Chase bank account first, put money there, at least like, the minimum, but ideally the more the better into the account. And the more money that you keep in the account, the more the money that they're going to give you on the card. And then set up if you guys are W-2, like if you work a second job with direct deposit, set up your direct deposit so that you automatically hit the Chase account. So banks love that. It's a little hack for anyone that has a second job where it's like they get direct deposit because it shows like most people don't change your direct deposit. So if you set up a direct deposit with their bank and you're hitting it for 1 to 3 months, and then you go and apply for a card, they're gonna see that and like, all right, this guy's got account with us for a little bit. He's kept $1 to $2,000 in it. It's a lot of transactions coming in and out. He set up direct deposit. Let's approve him for more money than we would have if he would have just came into the door, just out of the blue. But yeah, so what's also cool about these personal bank accounts is that they have bonuses. So if you're a W-2 employee with direct deposit, basically all these banks that I have listed here have a bonus. So for example, with Chase, everyone should have a Chase account. I'm going to get into this later, but everyone should have a Chase account after this call. Chase is the best bank, but they're strict. So you want to have a personal and business bank account with them. So make sure you do that. You're going to be so thankful because the longer you have an account with them, the more money that you're going to get. Basically, especially if you have a W-2 job direct deposit, you get a $300 bonus if you direct deposit 500 bucks. And there's a ton of them for each of these banks. I can send you this exact document that I have where you can go through and apply for all these cards or whatever ones are local to you, but definitely at least Chase, every person should have both, in my opinion, business and personal. So, like I was talking about before, is you want to have a good credit profile. So, what does that look like? Before you go and apply for business credit, you're going to want to have at least 2 years of personal credit age. It doesn't have to be just like credit card if you have a car loan, but ideally your oldest account is 2 years old before you go and apply for business credit. You want to have at least 2 to 3 credit cards with at least a 10K credit limit. Ideally, if you want to get like high amounts of like, I don't know exactly, I don't know exactly like what levels of business you guys are in and how much money you're actually looking for. But if you're looking to get like at least six figures, you're going to have at least 30 to $50,000 of personal credit limits before going to apply for business credit. So what happens if you guys have an amazing business that's doing really well, but you're young, you've got under 2 years of history, your personal profile is not built out? What you can do is you can apply through a relationship manager at the big banks and you can show them your financials and they can bypass all that. But we'll go a little bit into that later on. Oh yeah, and what you could do to increase your credit limits every 91 days, you can ask for a 20% increase. Anything more than that, they're gonna deny you, but 20% is about like the sweet spot. And then you can remove these inquiries as well because they're not tied to a personal account. They're asking for a credit increase. Um, but yeah, that's something that you do, especially if you have a good, history of paying them off and not really like, carrying a massive balance on them. But yeah. All right. So similar to business bank accounts, you want to do the exact same for personal bank accounts. Where you go and apply for a business credit card, have a business bank account open for 1 to 3 months. So same thing, and then you want to keep money in those accounts too. So, at least a K, 1 grand, or whatever you can, but 5 to 10K is perfect. But 1K, is going to give you, decent results. And the longer you have these accounts open, the more activity that you have in them, the more money that you put are all going to add in terms of the limit that you're going to get. And same thing with personal credit card, personal bank accounts. There's bonuses for all these. I'm going to show you how to get all these too. Especially if you've got a ton of cash sitting on hand just in bank accounts. You just move them to the right bank account and you get like $1,000 just by doing it like actually intelligently. But and then also too at the same time you're getting a bonus, but then you're also developing a relationship with these banks so that when you go apply for credit in the future with them, they're going to be in a position where they're going to want to give you more money because each bank has a personal like banking score where you have your credit score, right? But then they have your banking score. What kind of customer are you? And that's going to be based on, how long you've been a customer with them, how many transactions you're having with them, what personal cards you have, what business cards you have, what bank accounts you have, business, personal and business bank accounts you have. So all that is adding up in terms of the amount of money that you get. So I never ever recommend, unless you have the most amazing credit profile, and even then, going to in a bank that you have no bank accounts with and then asking for a credit card because it's not going to end well for you. If you had been a little bit more patient, wait at least a month, you would get significantly higher limits. So when you go apply for business cards, you can go apply through the standard way. Applying through relationship managers is really only if you're looking to get, you know, above 20 to 30, 40K per card. And then if you really want to get the highest limits, you're not going to be able to get a 50 to 100K card just from going through the algorithm alone. You still need to have great credit profile. But basically, a relationship manager is a salesman that works at a bank. I have connections to relationship managers at every single big bank that has, good cards. So basically, what you do is rather than applying through the algorithm, which is going to cap the amount of money that you can get, applying directly through a relationship manager, you're going to get a higher limit. And especially valuable if you're a young guy or you've got, an underdeveloped credit profile, what you can do is you can apply to the relationship manager and you can show them your financials, show them how much money you're making, how much you're spending per month, and a bank will approve you for, 50K card, you say you're spending already, 50K a month on your, debit card. You show them that for 3 months of history, you're going to get approved for, a 50K card if you show them through a relationship manager, even if, you have, 6 months of credit history. So that's the main advantage of relationship managers. To get approved for the highest possible limits, and if you really want to maximize the amount of funding that you really want. So, three banks that I never recommend. Discover, TD, Capital One. The reason for these banks I'd never recommend is because their business cards report on the personal profile, and it completely defeats the purpose of it because you can't wipe the inquiries. And then if you have a high utilization, it's going to fuck up your personal score. So I don't recommend any of these banks. And then plus a Capital One as well is that they give you three inquiries instead of one because they give one for each bureau. So don't not a big fan. If you see my Twitter, I shit on them all the time. All right, so small credit unions. These really aren't recommended using unless you're looking for like a home or auto loan. Um, because or like so a personal type of loan because they'll give lower interest rates than the big banks. And then I don't know if you guys are like into crypto at all, but if you're into crypto, especially if you're in big where you've got like 5 to 6 figures on and off ramping crypto with the big banks would be a pain in the ass. I think it's a scam. Whereas with the small banks, like they don't give a fuck. Like you can off and on ramp crypto pretty easily with them without any issues. So that's what I would recommend if you guys are any of you are big in crypto and you need to off or on ramp money, going through a small local credit union is the best way to do that. But if you're gonna looking to get a loan, why not get 0% interest money? So there's no real like advantage of that in my opinion. So banks everyone should use American Express and Chase. Everyone should have and a personal credit card with both of these, especially Chase. You need to have a business and personal bank account. Amex is kind of an outlier. You don't really need to have a bank account with them because they're an all online bank. But everyone should have a Chase personal, Chase business account. If you can get one thing out of the call today, Chase personal, Chase business, it's going to help you so much out with your credit because Chase will give you the most amount of money, out of anyone besides maybe Amex. And, they have the best point system. You're going to get the best rewards, and it's just a good bank to have. But yeah, I like these banks. They have the highest limits, best rewards, multiple 0% interest cards, and just good banks to work with overall. So I'm going to go over charge cards and rewards cards. So charge cards are basically cards like the Amex Gold, Platinum, and Plum, where there's no preset limit, which I don't know why they have that term because it is deceiving. There is a limit on it, but the limit can raise pretty high, whereas in a standard card, it's pretty like determined in terms of like the limit that you have. So basically, on these charge cards, you can get really high limits, and then if you spend them, if you max out the card and then pay it off before the statement is due, then if you keep on doing that for a while, they're gonna raise the rates up. So on the charge card, you're gonna get the highest limit out of any possible card. No card's gonna give you a higher limit than any of these Amex charge cards, which is why they're great to have. Um, but yeah. So yeah, here are the charge cards. You got the gold. I don't know if you guys are running ads at all, being in the FBA space, but for ads, the gold's the best. You 4x back. Um, and they get 4x back on restaurants. The platinum, I think it's an overrated card. It's got like a $700 a year annual fee. Unless you're flying multiple times a year, you're spending 100K a month. The Amex Plat is not worth it, in my opinion. Um, Chase Ink Business Premier. This is a great card to have. 2.5% back unlimited. So if you're spending, over, you're spending a ton of money, 2.5% back really adds up and it's unlimited. Whereas with like the gold, it is limited up to 150K in spend. Then they're gonna, cap out the rewards you get back. So travel hacking. This is what you guys all wanted. So here we go. So travel hacking. It's everyone I think overcomplicates it. It's not as complicated as you seem, but everything on this slide is basically everything that you need to know. So first and foremost, never ever get the airline cards. They're complete scams. You may think that like, oh, if you get the airline card, you're gonna get the best rewards, blah blah blah, this and that. Like it's just an airline's way of trying to attract loyal customers by having a credit card that, gives them special perks. But the credit card, if you look at the travel cards, like they have the worst like reward. It's like 2% back on flights booked through Delta. You get a free bag. But like if you're flying business or first class, through how I'm gonna show you how to do the point transfers, you're gonna get the free bag anyway. I mean, like the only good travel card, I guess, would be the Amex Platinum, so you get access to lounges. But the travel cards, they don't give you any rewards or cash back, and the opening bonuses are not even good to begin with. So you're not even getting that much points with them. The best way to do points is get cards like the ones here that have high rewards, and then transfer those points to the best airline that has the best deal at the time. Rather than being loyal to one shitty airline, you are looking for the best deal to transfer the points because you can transfer to any of like 20 different airlines and you go to whoever has the best deal. So get your points, your Chase and Amex points, your Wells Fargo or whatever kind of points as high as possible. And you do that by using the right card for the right thing. So if you're running ads, you put the Amex Gold on the ad, you get 4% back. Or, if you're, you know, making sure that you're matching getting the cards with using the cards with the highest rewards. And then what you're doing from there is you're not using the cards on the portal. So for example, say you have 1 million Amex points sitting in your portal. Never book a flight through the portal. The portal is a scam. You're gonna get the value of your points are gonna be literally nothing. Like the best way to do it is you go into the portal and then you transfer the points to a specific airline that's having the flight. So I can go into this in more detail. I have a thread on this that I really go into much deeper detail on exactly like how I did it. I booked a flight from New York City to Panama for like $250 worth of points for a first class flight. But if you were to go and bought it through the portal, it would have been 750. But I think I've been going long here, so I can go over this on another call. I can send you a video. I can send you my thread, and it can go over how to do this much better than on this limited call. The main thing is airline cards are trash. Get high rewards cards, and then transfer the points to the best airline. Simple as that. Other best banks to use, you guys can go over this later, but I love all these banks. These are great options to use. So if you have no credit, what you do, like I mentioned before, authorized user on your account. You can go to Navy Federal, you get a secured card and pledge loans to build up your profile. Go to Chase, get the intro card, be have an AU if you're not going to get approved for it. And then, every 6 months, go and apply for new cards to build up your profile. And always, always, always open bank accounts before you go and apply for personal credit. And then in terms of loans and auto and home loans, I know a lot of people are curious about that. The best place, the best bank with the lowest auto and home loans is Navy Federal. But you have to be in the military or know someone in the military, whether it be a grandfather, parent, cousin. I have a backdoor way, so if you don't have any military in your family, message me and I'll show you how to do it. But it's literally simple. Applying through a loan through Navy Fed. You can go on the Navy Federal website right now and see what the interest rates are on the auto and home loans, and you're going to be shocked at how low they actually are. Um, but like any other bank, you can't just go into Navy Federal and then, ask for a loan. They're not going to give you a good deal. Obviously, your credit has to be on point, first of all. And then you have to be with the bank for at least, 6 months, have a bank account, keep money in there, open a personal card with them at least, and show that you're actually a serious customer. Like, for example, my business partner has a Ford Raptor, which is like, over $100,000 car. And he initially just bought it from the dealer and it was $1,500 a month for 7 years on 11% interest rate. But then he refinanced at Navy Fed. His $1,600 a month payment over 7 years went from $1,500 a month over 5 years. So he saved 2 years of $1,500 a month payments. I don't know the math, but it's, probably like 20, 30, 40 grand just by literally using the right bank. So that's like the power of credit. I think that's it. I think I went through it all. I tried to give you guys as much sauce as possible. That was like 45 minutes. I went a little bit over than what I was planning, but yeah, guys, the floor is yours. Any questions that, you guys have about anything, I'm here. I've been doing this for, 2 years now, helped over, 30 clients at this point with their credit. So feel free to ask, don't be shy. And yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they'll be asking questions in the chat. That was definitely packed full of a good amount of info. So I appreciate you doing that.
I got a question.
All right, yeah, there we go.
Um, how do we reach out to you outside this Zoom call?
Yeah, let me put my Twitter. Uh, One sec. I'm gonna put my Twitter in the chat. Give me 1 second. All
I
right.
think some were also asking for that thread on travel hacking.
Yeah, yeah.
If you want to link that as well,
Yeah, I'll
or
find
you
that.
can send that to me later and then send it to me and I'll link it to them.
Yeah, but yeah, but like the thing is with travel hacking, I have the link right here. I'm gonna post it in. Basically, what you want to do, don't get the airline cards. I show you how to transfer them on. I got to do this again to get a better video. I gotta do some traveling again so I can, make some more content about how to travel hack. But if you transfer them to the airline directly, you're gonna get an infinitely better deal than if you go through the portal itself. Like I'll show you like all the screenshots I have are on that thread. It's like super organized on how I did it. So you can like see like what the cost would have been if I did it the normal way, whereas how I would do it if I like how I did it my way type of thing. But yeah, the thread's in there and I go over all that pretty in detail. But yeah, let me read through these questions that you guys got. What about opening multiple tabs of credit application and applying at the same time? So basically, anytime you apply for a credit card, it's going to show up on your report right away, but the bank's not going to know exactly what it's for. but I always recommend when you go and apply, you like apply in like a funding round, what we call it, which is basically like you apply for 2 to 3 cards at once, and then, in a few months, like 6 to 12 months, you go and apply again. Would it be a good idea to utilize soft pulls if you're pre-qualified? Yeah, no, those are definitely great, but not all banks, have them. But yeah. Yeah, so def open a Chase account. That'll be super helpful. Chase will give you the most money out of any bank besides Amex. So having a relationship with them, having a, personal and business bank account with them is huge. Like for me, for example, I got a 35K Chase card, 0% interest when I was like 22 years old, and I had like 2 or 3 years of credit history. But Chase was my main account that I had all my transactions go, my work jobs that I had, and I had a long history with them. So that helped me out a lot. But because I did it, I got a high limit on it. So yep, I have this all recorded, so I'm gonna send it over after this. Should I change my nonprofit for a profit LLC? Yeah, nonprofits in terms of funding, in terms of like credit, is not going to help you. I mean, I don't know if it's actually like a nonprofit. I mean, that's not really my most area of expertise. All I know is that when we do funding, we recommend having an LLC or, a corporation. Nonprofits, I really don't think it would be best if you're looking to really maximize your credit. So no, student loans are not calculated the same as credit cards. Student loans are actually going to help out your credit report because it is an installment loan. So you're going to add to the credit mix, which is pretty cool in terms of like it's going to increase your that part of your score probably like 20 points higher just because you have some student loans. Um, so the only thing about credit utilization on the personal side is your credit cards. So it's just your personal card. So your business credit cards are completely separate. It's just your personal credit cards. So like if you have, 2 or 3 credit cards, you add up all the total limits on all those, with exception of charge cards. So if you have an Amex Gold, Plum, or Platinum, or the Green, those aren't included because they're charge cards on the personal, but everything else is included. And then your balance is the amount that you used during the month. So what you can do as a hack to lower your utilization is you can pay off your card right away before the statement is due. Because say your card, your statement starts in the first and then ends in the 30th. And then after the 30th, you're gonna have like 2 weeks to pay it. So if you pay it off before that due date, then it's going to have zero utilization because that's what it calculates it. So you can max out your card so long that you pay it off beforehand, before the statement is due. But it makes it much easier when you have high limit personal cards that you don't have to worry about that.
And also just kind of going off of the shitty banks you use, Capital One definitely does report like business, even business credit cards to your personal credit scores. Like I didn't realize that whenever I opened mine, and I carried very large balances just because I do Amazon, and it kind of wrecked my personal score just for like maybe the first couple of months, and I didn't even realize it was because I wasn't paying them off like before the statement ended. So that's definitely something to look out for whenever you're applying for these cards. Chase and Amex are definitely going to be the best ones. I do agree with that 100%.
Yeah, no, definitely don't recommend Capital One if any of you guys are using it. I wouldn't close your accounts because you
I
want to.
got a Capital One.
Yeah, no, it's all good. It's not, the end of the world. I would keep, whatever accounts you have open with them, but just go and start using other banks. Because let's say, Capital One's your oldest card, you have a 5-year Capital One card, and then you go and close that Capital One card, then your average age is gonna lower by so much. So that's another thing I don't even think I talked about is never close cards, even if you have a shitty old card, it's still worth it to keep it open because having an age on your credit report is one of the most important things. Like what I do, I have like I think like one of the shitty starter Chase cards. I have like a recurring payment, like a Spotify on it. So I don't even think about it. I have auto payments set up, $10 a month on the card, just so that I keep it open so that I increase the age on my account. So yeah, Amex Gold would not impact utilization. So say you have like a 50K sending limit, that's not going to add into your total credit limit. So yeah, so that's something definitely to keep in mind.
How about a US bank? Because
US
I
Bank,
know
I
US
love US
bank, they
Bank.
don't have a monthly statement fee, so that's why I use them.
Yeah,
I think Chase has one. I'm not sure.
yeah. I mean, Chase has one. I don't know if you have a second job. Usually, if you have a direct deposit of like $500 a month. But if you're using US Bank, I'm gonna send you guys like I have a free ebook where I kind of go over all this, everything basically I did in this presentation, and then links on how to do everything and like to the best accounts and stuff. So if you're like in a position where you don't have a ton of capital, what you can do is just use the banks that have free, no monthly fees or whatever. But US Bank, they're one of my favorite banks because they have an 18-month 0% interest business card, which is pretty cool. It's the longest one that's available. So
Yeah, I appreciate you for this, man. Appreciate you
yeah, of
for
course.
looking out. So I got a question. You know how you said I don't know if I want to hit you up after this, but you said that you have a service or something like that to like take out back credit because I have this Santander loan for a card and then that is just messing up my credit utilization. Where I'm trying to take it out. I don't know
So
the
is it like a
legal
collection or charge off?
yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you're gonna need to take that off if you want to get approved for anything. You can message me on Twitter and I can either show you how to do it yourself. It's gonna be a pain in the butt, or you can pay someone depending on your situation. But yeah, message me
Okay.
on Twitter about that, and I'll give you steps on how to fix that.
Okay, but what's the legal aspect of that though? Because I asked a lawyer actually, and dude was like, they could come after you, they could come after your wages and shit like that.
Well,
So
I'll tell you what, man, this is kind of like a personal question. I'll have to look at your report in order for me to actually know what exactly is going on. But we'll talk after this and we'll go over that, all right?
okay, I DM you.
Sounds good. All right, so should I refrain from applying for a Chase credit card if I'm still paying off my Amex? It's at 8K with a limit. Is this what Amex card is this on? Because I mean, it's gonna depend on like what your credit utilization is. If your utilization is under 30%, because if this is a charge card, it's kind of like a gray area in that regard. But if it's like an Amex, say blue, um, it's gonna add onto your credit report. So 8 divided by 20 is like 40% utilization. But you want to, incorporate all the cards that you have. So DM me personally and I can look at your stuff and I can give you a better suggestion. So your friend Jamie, keep whatever accounts they already have open because maybe close the bank accounts, but you want to keep at the very least the the personal credit cards open. You don't want to close those. That'll do more harm than, continuing to stay with Capital One or TD. So just let them know. You can send them this presentation about where I go off. I have a ton of tweets kind of going over why I'm not a fan of these banks. But keep the personal cards open, please. Don't close those cards. You can close the bank accounts, not the cards, but then open other accounts like a Chase account and get other personal cards. Exactly. Yeah, keep capital and apply for Chase. I'm gonna send you guys a list. Let me do it actually right over here. So I have like this ebook where I had those screenshots for all those documents. I put it all in here. It's basically just like a PDF. It's completely free. It's gonna have a link so you can know if you have a second job. You can know how to hit the bonuses. You can know how to if there's any fees associated with the banks. And it's got a ton of information, how to set up your LLC properly and that kind of thing. But basically, it's just basically going to be a review of this call. Navy Federal Trey. Okay, I'll tell you what, Trey, just DM me on Twitter and I'll, you know, look into this a little bit more because I don't want to tell you something that I don't know 100% about. But basically, um, what I would do is lower your utilization as much as possible because the lower utilization on it, the more your score is going to go up and the more money that Chase will give you. So like if you do it right once from the start, you're already going to have a high limit. Whereas if you do it wrong once, you're going to get a low limit. And to get that limit up is going to be much harder because every time you go and apply for cards, banks base the credit limits that they're going to give you based on the credit limits that you already have existing. So if you start out, with a $500 limit or $1,000 limit, and a bank sees that, especially from a bank like Chase, they're not going to feel comfortable giving you a 10K limit. They're maybe give you a 2K limit or a 3K limit. So doing it right from the start, I can't like express how important that is just getting that right from the start. Um, all right. I think I ran through the questions. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to type them out or ask me. Also, my Twitter DMs are all open. I'd appreciate if you guys, gave me a follow, like my stuff. But yeah, Nick, anything else you want to say or any other questions?
Yeah, I think that was a ton of great info. And for those of you just kind of starting out trying to get started with credit and building it, definitely some good things to note. And doing it right off the start is going to be beneficial in the long run. Don't do anything just out of uh, just wanting to get it. And yeah, I appreciate you hopping on here and spilling all the good sauce. I think there was one more question that just popped up.
There you go, Simone. Can you transfer credit card balances to a bank with no interest and pay them off quicker? Yeah, so yeah, no, I know this was one of the questions I never actually addressed this. So one of the things that you can do with credit is something called the balance transfer. So say you have like a credit card that's got like, a 5K balance on it, but you can only afford to pay off like the minimum payment each month, but you're accruing that 30% interest and getting kind of stuck in this credit card trap. What you can do is you can open up another 0% interest card and transfer the balance onto it with no fees. And then you go from paying 30% interest on 5K to 0% interest for 12 months. And it gives you time to pay it off. And then all the money that you're putting towards the card is towards principal and not towards interest. So the problem that you can have with that though is that on the personal side is if you have a high utilization, your score is going to be really low. So that when you go and apply for another card, you're going to get a denied for it because your score is so low, or you're going to get a really low credit limit. So it's kind of in a tricky situation. I'd have to look at your report. You can DM me and I can guide you better on this, on what you should do. But that's what's the main advantage of business credit, right? You can max out a 20K card. And then what you can do from there is since your personal credit is still perfect because it's business credit, you and then the banks look at your personal credit when they go and apply for business, approve you for business credit, is that with that 20K on business credit, your 0% interest is running out. then what you can do is you can transfer it onto another 0% interest card and then keep on cycling the 0% interest and having this money that you don't have to pay interest on either. So it's pretty cool in that regard. But Simone, just send me an DM and I'll help you out. But yeah, any other questions? Last chance.
It's a pretty crazy hack that I didn't even know of transferring balances to 0% just time after time.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is really valuable stuff. A lot of my clients are in like real estate, where they have long timelines. So this is a hack that we recommend. But yeah,
Yeah, awesome. If you want to go ahead and send me all the links that you posted in these chats too, as
yeah,
well as your Twitter, the threads, as well as uh, that ebook. I'll create a channel in Strike, just kind of set it in there along with this recording, and we can all have it in one place.
perfect. All right, guys, take care. And again, bro, my DMs are open, so feel free to reach out with any questions. All right,
Perfect. Appreciate your time, man.
take care.